Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And finally, we had some big NFL action. I don't even know if we want to call it action, right? A.J. Brown finally went to the Patriots. I think, didn't Rossini break that like months ago? Right? They have the inside scoop. So, like, I mean, what are we doing here? It seems like all these teams they complain and they don't make moves or whatever. But you know the backdoor deals are already there for some of these NFL moves. The other big one was the swap of Verse and Garrett for the Browns and the Rams. And I was joking with Matt before. It feels like the Rams are desperate. It's like whenever Michigan won the national championship in football and Ohio State immediately went out and got a bunch of transfers in. And they were like, we're going all in. We're spending like millions of dollars on a roster.
Like Michigan spending that money on an older player that wasn't as good.
Well, that's what they went all in. That's kind of what the Rams are doing right now, dude. They're bringing in Garrett. Is that really going to be a difference enough to make?
No, that makes absolutely no sense. All that's doing, and depending on what the salary stuff is, like I feel like you're comparing apples to apples. Like they're similar style players. I think you're bringing in an unproved, like with bringing Garrett in. Does he know the system? Like, is he going to match and mesh with what they have defensively in place? Because Verse and Fisk have played together inside outside since college. So like there's a natural fit there that now you're having to adjust.
Well, that's why it looked like the Browns won the deal. Didn't they get a bunch of picks too?
I think.
So it's like a good reset for them because I don't know what their plan is long-term quarterback wise or whatever. I mean, they kind of blew up their chances.
They don't know either.
Yeah, they blew up their chances. Like they're like, we're at a good spot here with Baker Mayfield. And they're like, you know what? Let's blow this up. And then a couple years later, we'll just trade our guys and get some new picks and start all over. Because even if they were just hanging out and doing like a Steelers where they're making the playoffs every year, that might get enough people interested in going there as like a free agent. Because like the other move, the Falcons signed Drake London to a ridiculously high extension. And I thought, why? Has any team that really dumped money into a wide receiver been good? I was trying to think, like, you look at Mahomes, they're constantly getting rid of his weapons. When Tom Brady was with the Patriots, did they even keep any of his weapons around? He didn't even have any good weapons.
The only time that I thought was kind of comical was there was a year that I want to say like, what the hell was his name?
Randy Moss. That's what people will be messaging me about. You forgot about Randy Moss.
Oh no! It was before Randy Moss because it was like was it Rishi? It was like some random ass Florida receiver that he was just like, it looked like he was wearing, like his eyes were massive. It was like he was surprised that he was even playing. I thought, yeah, buddy, I'm surprised you're there too. And Brady threw a ball, and he doesn't have a rocket arm or ricochet right off his face. I was like, oh my God, come on. Like, I feel like I could catch that. And then that off, like they lost to Manning that year. And then it was like that offseason, they're like, you know what? We can't keep that. We can't keep doing this. We have to actually have some actual football players on our team. And that was when they brought in like Dillon and Moss and Amendola, and they brought in like 5 or 6. It was like they just went through like a Madden shopping list of who are the people that are named receivers, and then just brought all of them in.
Yeah, then they got them tight ends with Hernandez and Gronk, and then they were like, we're good. Because then I think they realized once they had them, you didn't really need the big stars. Because Randy Moss, I don't think Randy Moss, did he even get a Super Bowl? I don't think he did. They lost that year.
No, he was on the team that had they were undefeated to the Super Bowl and then lost to drunkard Eli.
Yeah, he's on the list of guys that just came up short, right? I don't think he's ever won a Super Bowl. He's like the Dan Marino of wide receivers. Yeah. Him and like Calvin Johnson and a couple dudes.
Larry Fitz.
Did Larry Fitz win one with the Cards though?
No.
I thought they did.
No, he ran into that Mike Tomlin buzzsaw.
Yeah, rest in peace. Didn't his dad just die?
Yep.
Which I didn't even know he was still working with the Vikings, to be honest. Because I knew that was like the big thing when he went to Pitt about how he grew up around the Vikings and always was like working out with them. And that's one of the things. It's like, I don't even know if his dad played in the NFL. But you always hear about people being coached up and being around the game and like actually learning the game can make a big difference before. Because you have guys that are just natural talents or they bloom late. Like Yaxel did for Michigan basketball. Like he didn't start playing until he was like in high school because of grades and stuff. And that was how he turned his life around. Not a lot of people are just going to be like, you know what? I just hit a growth spurt. I'm 6'8", right? Oh my gosh. I can start playing basketball now.
Do you know how many murders I would have committed to wake up one morning and be 6'8"?
Like, because that's what it's always like a surprise. It's like, hey, this guy just got recruited. And it's like, they show a picture and he just looks like a twig. And they're like, yeah, one day he just shot up 6'8" now. It's like a 7 foot tall. It's like that guy. I don't even know how to say his name for the Spurs. Is it Wemby or whatever they call him? That like huge guy.
Yeah. It's like he's playing on a Fisher Price basketball hoop.
Bro, I can't even watch like all the highlights that I've seen about like how he's going to be the greatest player. He just looks so awkward because he's so big. And it's like, are these highlights? Because I swear I saw one where he was like, and maybe this might be like a Michigan blend where I think I saw, didn't Mara, Michigan's huge dude this year, like wasn't he able to dunk like from his tippy toes? So like this other guy has to be able to dunk because he's bigger, I think. So you can't show me him dunking in the game and have me impressed. Like, I'm sorry. If the dudes keep getting bigger, they're going to have to raise the hoop, right?
Nope. I want to see just like when we were little. I want to see grown men with a little hoop.
Because, well, that's the big thing. Because my argument for the WNBA is make it better. Just raise it, like shorten it, lower it.
No, because then here's the argument. Then they go to the WNBA, identify as women, and then they just crush all of the records.
But see, you got to be good because they're not even pushing like Caitlin Clark anymore. I don't even see like any of her
LeBron
highlights.
James could probably play another decade. He could set all the records in the WNBA. Just be a chick.
What if he did though?
That would be the greatest burn of all time. I'm the greatest champion of both leagues. Suck on that, Michael Jordan.
Then he could be the greatest, right? Because no one else could claim that until someone else did it. But I was trying to look and see in terms of like other moves for the NFL, like what some of the teams when they have these like salary caps things, because like Steelers, they signed Herbig to what, $100 million extension, a linebacker. Why? That has to be one of the positions where it's like he's 24. I don't even know what it's only a 4-year. Like that's kind of ridiculous. I'm sorry. Because
because you figure at some point Watt's going to get hurt, so you need to make sure that you have at least half it solidified.
But see, I was doing a breakdown of Michigan's new DC, is it Hill? And his like philosophy and things, and he's supposed to be like the linebacker guru, but he purposely hasn't been recruiting linebackers because his set is, I can teach linebackers to kind of just fill. Like if we're going to have NIL money, we're spending them on D-line and defensive backs because like those are the hard, you can't teach that. Like you can't teach a guy to be 6'3", 350 pounds, right? Clogging up the lane. Like you can't just teach that. And I agree. And so when I see they complain about running backs not getting big contracts, and that's why I laughed when the Cardinals made that draft for Love. It's like, you don't even know how good he's going to be. And you just made him like the highest paid dude. Like you pretty much screwed your salary cap. And when I see the Steelers making moves like this, and I had someone discussing, trying to debate, I saw a message I got. It was, Matt, who would you rank as a better career quarterback now if Stafford wins a Super Bowl again? Would he pass like Aaron Rodgers? Because with the Rams going all in, good chance like they could go all the way. Is he going to pass them? And like, would they be? And they're battling. They told me, oh, they're battling for the 5th best quarterback of all time. And I'm like, 5th best quarterback of all time. Like, that's some recency bias, because there's no way I would have Aaron Rodgers anywhere near the top 5. I don't care about the stats. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been
I
good.
feel like he hasn't been good. But I feel like it's the same people that would put him in that category are the people that just are blindly looking at stats.
Yeah, it has to be stats.
And like maybe fantasy football numbers. Like maybe that's a relevant stat. But I wouldn't put him anywhere near. Hell, I don't even think I'd put him near top 20.
Not your top 20. I don't know how many guys I would name above him. So right now he is 5th in passing yards. I mean, I forgot about Drew Brees. So they have Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre ahead of them. I was thinking easily, just based on the era, you would probably have Dan Marino. There's no way you wouldn't have Joe Montana ahead of him. I don't care how many stats he has or whatever. That dude is a winner. And then heck, even Terry Bradshaw. And then some of the other guys, like you have Warren Moon passing, Tarkenton, like some of these dudes that are just like legends. Johnny Unitas, like how do you kick them out?
Jim Kelly
wasn't a winner though. He's like on the.
He went to 4 Super Bowls in a row.
I could go to 4 Super Bowls in a row, Matt.
Yeah,
with the same amount of hardware. So I mean, if you look at that and you're like, all right, well, how high is he? Like, yeah, he's played for 20 years. Some of these other guys haven't played for like 20 years, and maybe it's for his longevity. Because I compare him like even to Russell Wilson right now. Russell Wilson's like right outside the top 10. I don't know if you saw where it looks like he's taking a gig in the booth instead of being the backup at New York. Is that where he was? So he's going to be like on CBS. I'm like, great. Another quarterback we don't need talking. But like compared to him, he only played like 7 less seasons than Aaron Rodgers. So like if he would play just for a longer amount, maybe he could catch up to him. I don't know. He has more Super Bowls, right? He played with more teams.
Like the Aaron Rodgers thing is kind of like for the basketball people, like what they're doing with LeBron, where like he's played for so many more years that obviously he's going to have more stats.
Because, well, they talk about Tom Brady played more. Yeah, Tom Brady played 2 more. Tom Brady won a ton more. And I think it's impossible for Aaron Rodgers to catch Tom Brady. Right, he's like 100-something passing touchdowns behind, and if this is really his last year, is he really throwing like 60 touchdown passes? Probably not. Right, I know there's more games, but like that seems like impossible. And he sure as heck isn't throwing like.
He has a massive year. That's just loving life, and wins the Super Bowl. He may just be like, you know what? Let's just do it one more time. See if we can win another.
Well, yeah, if he wins Super Bowl and they do go crazy, then I could see him come back. And maybe he pushes for it. And then at that point, when you
do it John Elway.
Yeah, when you go out on top. If you win the Super Bowl multiple times, I think that kind of gives you, or even with 2 different teams, I think that's another push. Because like Favre didn't get it done with another team. But he was a gunslinger. And I mean, honestly, if I was picking a Green Bay quarterback that I'd want to play tomorrow, I'm picking Brett Favre. Right, I don't know any other Packers owners that would pick Aaron Rodgers over Brett Favre. Because Brett Favre, you're going to get a show, right?
But there's not many quarterbacks that I would take over Brett Favre.
Tom Brady for sure. I was thinking top 5. I would have Brady, Manning, Favre, Montana, and then Bradshaw, right? Is that what I said? I forgot about Breeze. Breeze only won, 1 Super Bowl? I don't think that discredits him because then you're in the same conversation as Aaron Rodgers. Breeze had a better career than Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't even think he would be I would easily put him 6, right? If not higher. I just forgot about him when I was thinking through my list. And then, of course, that's
Well,
not
the
even
quarterback
counting.
that's always left off is, I mean, and it's from the earlier era, but Otto Graham
Well,
won
yeah,
like
they're not going
12
to bring him in.
championships. Like I would 100 like, you know, you use Brady's winning championship. Like when you win like over a decade of championships and essentially fold an old football league because of how much ass you're kicking, like that's worthy.
But it wasn't a lot of his pre-Super Bowl, and I think that's why. Right?
Yeah, it was pre-Super Bowl because it was like right up until the Super Bowl era.
Yes, I don't know. Like the stats are obviously going to be different way back then because they weren't passing as much. But even then, I don't know. Like if they have, I guess passing touchdowns wouldn't be a good indicator of that too. Because if you're not throwing touchdowns either. He is on the list, but he's like in the 70s, like around surprisingly Lamar Jackson. But yeah, Lamar's played for only 7 seasons. So, and I don't know how many Otto Grahams they have in here. He has like a bunch of asterisks, and I don't know. I hate that. They're like, here's 13 asterisks. I can't even say it. And like a cross, like go to the bottom and try to read what that means. And then there's no info on the bottom from the Pro Football Reference. I have no idea why they have those by his name. Is he like extra stats that aren't shown here? I have no idea. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm still coming around on the Steelers. When they start giving big contracts to dudes that aren't as big a name as what you would expect, I feel like you're heading for like a middling. You're just heading for a middling future, and it's pretty clear that's probably because they don't know what to do with the quarterback position, and you're hoping that hey, if we can shore up the defense, I don't know. Right, because now they're having Highsmith and TJ Watt. That's a big, expensive defensive core that they have. So I don't know. Plus, they're going to have Joey Porter Jr., right? They're going to extend him, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So you're going to have your defense locked up, and then you're going to have to kind of start all over on offense. And I brought up the Falcons and like Drake London. I would rather have the Steelers spend on defense though. Defense, you can lock up and you can mess around on offense for a while and kind of float around. Like think of the 2000 Ravens, like that decade where it's like offense, iffy. We might not have it. Defense, we're locked in, baby. And then they're going to compete, and that's all you need to compete. And then, yeah, of course, you're going to hit the playoffs and you're not going to get it done because you're going up against Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. But that's kind of like a fluke. If the Ravens were on the NFC side with that defense they had that decade, maybe they win more Super Bowls because you're just luckier, right? Because even the Steelers broke through with great defense that same decade twice. Twice-ish. Wasn't the other one like 2011 or something, 2010? So it's like close, but you can win with the defense. And then, of course, like they lucked into Roethlisberger, and the Ravens lucked into Flacco. So the Ravens never got the quarterback that they were hoping to land. Because you can make the argument if that Ravens defense might have been better than the Steelers at some points. If they would have had Roethlisberger, would they have won more Super Bowls? Realistic possibility. I mean, overall, both ended up winning 2 around that same time frame. And some franchises haven't even made the Super Bowl, like Cleveland. So, see Cleveland spending on weird stuff, and the Steelers locking down on defense. And if Steelers continue to win the division, that's going to be the reason why. Write that down. Is there any other NFL stuff you want to talk about this week?
No.
I'll segue before I get into the college stuff because it's really annoying me. We had that enhanced games that we talked about. I think that's what it was called, the steroids game or whatever.
Yeah.
Disappointment, dude. They only had one record that was broken, and it was barely broken. And so I'm doubling down on, it was swimming. And I don't know if it was didn't I talk about where I was looking at previews and like the one dude swimmer just looked jacked. Like he was like Bane from Batman jumping in and swimming. Like you knew that wasn't going to work out. That's why I would want to see, because they were like, well, I saw people were saying like, this is going to give you cancer. It's like, dude, people are sitting around eating junk food all day, right? Wondering why their blood sugar's out of whack and like getting sick. And yet you're going to critique these athletes for taking some like supplements that have been shown. Like, and I've had people tell me these aren't the same steroids, but like you get sick, you go to the doctor, they literally give you a steroid to get better. Right? They're like, oh, we'll give you a steroid cream. That'll heal that right up. Okay, hurt myself swimming. I'm going to take a steroid cream, heal myself right up. I'm ready to go. That's the entire point of it. So I don't know if they're going to get, the messaging they did was kind of over the top, where they're like, we're going to break all these records or whatever. What they really should have did is challenged some of these pure athletes, like whoever the runner was, he was calling out like Usain Bolt or something during the thing. They should have got some random Joes off the street, pumped them full of roids, and then seen how like showed how their improvements happened. Like, you know how like the weight loss pick where.
No, I think I'll do you one better. What they should have did is had just regular people just swim as a control, and then have like a Usain Bolt, and then have this super jack steroid performance enhancing person. And you'd be like, well, look, this is a person who's being like uniformly drug tested to make sure that they're not having any PEDs. They're just naturally like been training for however many years. Like this is a top tier athlete compared to someone who's like interested in being an athlete but eating performance enhancing drugs.
But
and
see,
then
are you giving the control person? Are you giving that guy drugs though? Is my thing.
No, you need a control element.
Yeah, but I want to see if they actually work. That's the whole point. I want to see if the steroids work. So have a guy, like what was that show with like Marky Mark or whatever he tried out for the Eagles? Like that Miracle on Ice or whatever it is. So you have that aspect of it where the guy comes in, he's like a bag boy at the grocery store. You have him run, like you said, run against like this guy training. And then you show that at the beginning of the show and you're like, whoa, this guy, he got dusted. And then he spent 6 months in a camp or however long they think they need to do a cycle. And you just have him running and only doing steroids and he's only eating healthy. And then
just start a montage.
Yeah, it's like a montage, bro. Like a real life Rocky. And then you see him like come out. He's like all fat. Like he's like just worked his shift. And then like six months later, he's like jacked. Because of course, if they're controlling the diet, like in a Survivor TV show style, where like they can't go out and do the stuff because they're like in a camp, right? They had that one gymnastics camp that Larry Nassar was running. I don't think that's getting any use now. They could go there, put the stuff right in, and you just have these dudes. They're locked in. They can't get out. They're working out hard. They're ready to run or do whatever. Because like it doesn't even have to be running, right? It wasn't there guys like lifting weights. How many dudes do you know on like Instagram or whatever that just show videos of them poorly lifting weights? If they're given the opportunity to just leave their life and go train for 6 months and make like $500,000 or whatever they're paying these dudes to show a before and after. Like here's Jim Bob, dude. He only does arms. Look how penciled his legs are, but he's going to be deadlift champ at the end of this 6 months. And then you show like he deadlifts like 100 pounds. And then if you're showing me a dude deadlift 100 pounds and then in 6 months he's deadlifting 500 pounds or something, that's more impressive than a guy barely eking out a world record against an Olympian. At least for me. Right? Show some like I told you, I was hitting pitching like upper 80s, close to 90. I don't even know if I ever broke through because like they don't time you every time, right? But like if you took a guy that was hitting those same numbers and you put him on steroids and he's like, what if he starts throwing like 98 miles an hour? Like, could that have been me? Right? Because I guarantee, or I know that I was playing against dudes that were juicing, playing baseball. So like how many of these guys are actually able to hit that clean? I don't know, but it would be a good thing to show. Like what was that movie, The Rookie, that Disney put out where the pitcher, he's just like that could have been a real life guy where he's just pumping steroids and they left that part out of the movie. And he's like, you know what? I've just been pitching and doing roids. And now I'm going to temp myself back down. I'm going to go show off how hard I can throw. And then whenever I cramp out during the season, I'm like, yeah, I'm old. Right? I didn't just stop taking steroids. I'm just old at this point. Because they wouldn't really do anything, right? If you get them out of your system or whatever, they're not going to go back in time and test you, especially if you're just like some jabroni high school baseball coach doing your cycle from the enhanced games. And you're like, hit this, baby. Ohtani, hit this fastball, 107 miles an hour. I'm juicing up hard. See if you like it. So I don't know. I know we're joking about the enhanced games because that's kind of what it ended up being. They didn't have enough. And the premise of like the owner saying like, you can look a lot younger if you're just pumping roids. I also see a lot of dudes that are doing that kind of stuff and dying early still. So if they have a way to do it where they have them now and they get the research, and yeah, it does help people that are older when they start to have like muscle issues, they have trouble walking and falling and coordinating, and you're like in your 80s, you can barely walk. And it's like, what kind of life is that? If they're like, hey, you know what? We've been training with these dudes and now we can just give you like a little bit of the drip, baby. And you can be like hanging out with your friends and like boating and stuff, like doing cool things instead of sitting in a wheelchair. Like, I bet people would sign up, Matt. I guarantee they would sign up because they're going to say, well, what are the side effects? You could have a heart attack. It's like, I could literally have a heart attack getting out of bed right now. What would be the difference if I'm in my 70s or 80s? That's what I want to see because we're like halfway there, bro. So we need them to get on this medical breakthrough fast because I know I don't want to be limping around. You need to be able to go to Food Line and get your over-the-counter pep up, get your top off, kind of like the Ozempic, but for former athletes like us. People were like, oh, what cycle are you on? Like, yeah, I'm on Ozempic trying to lose weight. And it's like, oh, I'm roiding up right now. I was seeing if I could jump over the chair in my kitchen. Like, oh, okay.
Well, it is wedding season, so you gotta get right.
Yeah, right time for summer. Everyone's slimming down. You're getting jacked. You're like, try to push me in the pool. The other big story we have, NCAA, and Congress is getting involved. So this is a horrible.
Well, he does some really good decision making is going to come out of this.
And I look and see what's the point of what they're trying to do, right? Because we have everything coming in, and I think is it tomorrow they're going to hear? They're bringing in guys that are going to tell them exactly what they want to hear. They're bringing in Nick Saban, former Ohio State president Gordon Gee, Notre Dame's athletic director Bavakwa. Yeah, these are great guys to bring in. Dudes that probably want to go back to like the old system, right? And so everyone's mad is what one of the leaks said. Hey, one person said that like, hey, they're coming in, they're doing like the quotes. He said, everyone's mad coming in. So there's a chance that like something like this could squeak through because at this point, so many people are mad. They just wanted something in place. But realistically, from what I've seen, there's no protections or guarantees for women's sports or Olympic sports. Unless the entire NCAA comes together and they have one big TV rights. Like they put together their media rights. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we already know schools are annoyed having to pay for these other like smaller schools. There's no way that I think the Michigans are going to come together with Ohio State and say, you know what? We do want to split it with like Central Michigan and Toledo and all them. Because there's no way they would do that. You're going to lose so much money. And right now, the Big Ten, they're the winners. They're the biggest. I don't know if they're the biggest conference. They're one of the biggest conferences in terms of teams. And they're the biggest in terms of money. So there's no way the Big Ten, I don't think, is going to want to split. Worst case scenario, they just invite more state schools and they just break off into their own thing. I think that's what we don't want to happen. At least I don't want that to happen. I know Michigan's going to most likely be included no matter what happens, but I'm going to completely check out for the most part if like they go ahead and just have only 32 team conference or something and they're in their own NCAA thing, because at that point it's not going to really matter. It's going to be like a pro team winning the championship, where it's like realistically your team in such a small league, you should be winning the championship every couple of years just because you're going to have the same type of money and everything. So I don't like that. The other thing that's in here is they're trying to prohibit conference expansion or merging. I can't remember how they worded it, but they don't want teams moving from conference to conference, or they're basically trying to prohibit the SEC and the Big Ten, because one of the provisions had conferences that make over $1 billion, and that's only the Big Ten and the SEC. So some of this is just pandering from states that have like smaller state schools, probably like what's New York or someone. The Syracuse is there. They don't want the Big Ten merging with the SEC and leaving them out. Realistically, I think that's kind of what the idea behind it is. Because there are more states. I know the Big Ten is like the entire country now, but there are more states that are like left out completely if the Big Ten pulls something like that off. A lot of states would have a team, but there are some major states, like I said, New York, that in this scenario would probably get left out. And so the other thing is the money. And me and Matt were talking a little bit about this before the show. The way salary caps work in other sports is there's like the antitrust thing, and they have to have some type of player union or whatever that puts the contracts in place. So the players are voting on what they want. It seems like they're just trying to make it so that they have student athletes together. They're giving them just a random cap, and they just don't want to recognize them as employees because they want to get rid of those lawsuits or whatever that have been happening. And if you notice, every time NCAA loses those lawsuits almost every time, except for so far, was it the Sorsby? Is that his name? The quarterback that was gambling at Indiana. Where'd he transfer to? Texas Tech? I'm probably wrong on that. So he's banned right now for gambling. And I think he's like the only one that has lost that has continued to fight.
Yeah, because he said he's like, well, I only bet on my own team.
Yeah, Matt, and he has an issue. Gambling is a disease, and that's my thing. I'm watching a little bit of the Stanley Cup, and they just have the gambling right on the board. It's ridiculous, right? Like
that's been within the last 10 years. I mean, that's been such a bigger part, and I mean, even all the FanDuel and DraftKings and stuff like that. Like they introduced it as an extra revenue stream. So you got to sleep in the bed that you make.
Yeah, and that's the one thing too with like colleges, and they're trying to put these restrictions on. I don't want any restrictions that are fake restrictions. Because to me, if they put in this $20 million salary cap, that's going to be just like a suggestion, right? And
that was 100% the discussion that we had with it. So you throw this arbitrary number out of what it is. Essentially, that's what colleges were doing before, where it was, here's your room and board. What's to stop? And this is where I kind of thought of it was, you have this situation where even if you put a salary cap in place for college, under the old system, they were able to pay for whatever player they wanted outside of the university. Well, then I thought, well, what's stopping the NFL from doing that? Like, we have a salary cap. You can't go over so much money that I'm sure some business owners are like, we have to stick to this. What's to stop a fan that says, hey, I like the Steelers? I want to we need a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers will come back for an extra $20 million, and you just make the payment to him because you have that extra income.
Well, that would be like the collective thing. That's why I think right now with colleges, the difference is in the NFL, there's no skin in the game, right? It's hard to explain for people that are only like pro sports or didn't go to like a big university or play college sports or whatever. A lot of the schools, you get alums that are tied there and they're paying basically for access, right? They have a business. They're bringing clients to games. They have a booth. They have a whatever. Of course, you don't want to bring clients there and then like as part of like your business club and then your team just stinks, right? So if you get like a bunch of other business owners that are local, then you say, you know what? We're already paying this much for our booth. How about we just throw an extra 10 mil into like the NIL pool and we see what we can happen. Like that's what's happening with Texas Tech right now. They're pulling in the best whatever football they can get, softball they can get. And right now in the Big 12, they would be kind of on the outside looking in from the Big 10 and the SEC. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them one bit if they put in this fake salary cap. What's to stop them from saying, you know what? Okay, we're just going to go ahead and set up like weird other deals. Because one of the ones was, what's the BYU basketball players? Like Dibanasta? I don't know how to say his name. Like his NIL was supposedly like 5 to 7 million or whatever. But it was reported that they hooked him up with a $10 million licensing agreement with Fanatics. So in like the rule, that $10 million deal isn't going to be part of the NIL restriction. It's kind of like the same where I read a thing where a lot of Michigan players now are able to pull in extra money using their own likeness, like the way that this is intended, in a way that it wouldn't count against the salary cap because they're running like their own football camps or whatever. I think Donovan Edwards was like a leader in this, where he was going out and putting together a bunch of stuff with his name on it. And so he's getting NIL and Michigan's helping him with like his business side of things. And that's a huge deal. So if you have coaches that are not even like someone that's shifty, like Lane Kiffin, that's not even true to his word, how are you going to get like some of these big time recruits? Even if with a salary cap, you're just going to be giving them money under the table. And then if you get hurt or whatever, they're going to pay them to go away. Kind of like the NFL, like you get injured or whatever, they just cut you. They work out a deal to cut you. And then that's not going to count against the salary cap. How many times does that happen all the time? They just get an extra payment or whatever, and then that's it. And with the cap, you see the same fight in baseball right now, where the higher teams are spending so much more money. And then you have owners like Bob Nutting. Why would some random Pirates fan ever give him any money when he's not spending and he's just complaining about it? To where if they have the salary cap where he has to spend a minimum and they're already talking about sharing like the TV deal, that MLB deal is going to be a precursor to kind of what this NCAA deal would look like. And I just don't like how, if they're not going to nationalize it, now if everyone goes in, and I'm like surprised if they put together and make like some big NCAA because the government puts their hand out and says, you know what, you're not going to get government funding unless this happens, then all the schools would kind of just fall back under, and they went to like some NCAA, think of it like the basketball thing where the NCAA comes together and they come up with some regional conferences, and then everything's back to like kind of being how it was before. And there's no conferences. It's kind of just like the basketball tournament where you're like the Midwest region or whatever, the South region. That, like, to me, that would be such a heavy-handed move that I don't think the government would ever get buy-in like that for that to happen. So any half measures that they're talking about, you're either going to go back to how it was where you're going to have teams doing like the Wild Wild West thing, just begging the NCAA to enforce, or you're going to see teams just work their way around it. Like I brought up with like, hey, you're coming to Ohio State, dude. We're like one of the biggest brands in the country. We can get you deals with wherever. Like, right? It doesn't matter what we pay you under the salary cap. We'll just get you an endorsement deal because there's going to be no way for the government to limit that. And I think the cat's already kind of out of the bag. So you might as well just keep it how it is, like the wild, wild west right now, and then try to figure out another way. Because the schools, they don't have to spend the money. They don't. Well, who's making them spend the money? Nobody. But they know that if they don't, then they're going to be losers. And no one wants to be the loser. That's why the SEC is fighting right now, because you have all these teams just not being good and they can't compete with the top teams. And when their top teams that they've been riding the coattails of, like Alabama, isn't winning, I saw someone similar, like the SEC is like so good. It's like, yeah, I remember all the championships from like these other teams like Ole Miss and like South Carolina. Like, yeah, they were really bringing home the national champs before. It's like, oh no, they never did. Okay. Just like any other conference, right? You get a couple top teams in a couple sports and that's going to be it. And I think what will happen is, I've called this before, where some schools, they're going to just specialize. Because I think of like Maryland in the Big Ten, where they're winning like lacrosse championships and stuff. Are they ever going to compete in basketball or football? Probably not. But they're going to be able to compete in some of these other sports. And if the sports die, where it really only becomes about football, then you might see like a resurgence. But I think some schools, they're still really set on, hey, we're going to win these other sports. And if we win a different one, great. And we'll pretend like we're like awesome in that sport for a bit, but we're just not going to spend. And it hasn't worked out. Like, we haven't seen a BYU or a Texas Tech win a national championship in football or something yet. Like BYU spending in basketball and football, they haven't won either. Texas Tech came close in basketball. I don't know if they did. I think they were runners up, right? I can't remember. That was like pre-COVID though. So that was pre-NIL. But once the team started spending, like Texas Tech hasn't been there that I know. It's been like UConn and well, Michigan now. But is it going to be enough? Are these teams really going to have other people paying? Because like, to your point, Matt, I hope that the NIL type stuff, this crowdfunding, doesn't bleed over to pro sports. Because I've been on board, I've talked about it multiple times, where I see people complaining about the Atlanta Braves and how they're able to work stuff. Atlanta Braves are like a public owned thing now. You can just buy stock in them. And I've joked about it on this show, where when I get my vote for the year, if the Braves are stinking, dude, I'm voting against every single person on the board, right? I'm like, I have real money vested right in there. If we're winning, the stock goes up. If we're losing, the stock goes down. And so I think a lot of these other families and the way it's run now, I wouldn't be surprised in like 20 or 30 years if we just see a lot more public teams. Like I've said before, I've told people like the Packers right now are kind of like a fake public team where they're not really like a stock market, but nothing's really stopping them from saying, you know what, we are just going to become full public, and everyone that has a stock or whatever just gets converted in, and whatever the price is, if you want out, you can just sell your stock because they have the info. They could very easily do it. And I want to see, because the Broncos, I think, were very close to having their ownership go to that model. And to my knowledge right now, I don't think any NFL team has. But I think that would be the first step in charge for then other guys like paying. Because Major League Baseball, if they go to the salary cap thing, are teams going to be desperate and trying to crowdfund like better players? That would be insane to me. But that's how college is working right now. People can spend $10, send it to a collective each month, and then you get a hat, whatever else they send you, like a free poster with a guy signing it on the team, and maybe a meet and greet in the summer where you can go hang out with the coaches. I always wondered, like, to me, if I was donating, I don't think I would ever go to those events because it would just kind of be awkward, right? Like, hey, who are you? Like, I donate $10, buddy, a month. You don't know? You don't read the receipt? Because like it has to be awkward for the players. Now, if you're donating big money and you're promoting like your business and the players there, like, yeah, that's a little bit different. But if you're just crowdfunding, to me, that's an awkward deal. I'm for it. I'd rather have colleges do that than have a salary cap. And I would like the guys and gals to have protections and to get like healthcare and whatever else they can do. Because if you're making this much money where your conference is bringing in $1 billion, that's insane. Right. So I'll leave it at that for this week. I don't know what they're going to do. They tried to do the SCORE Act. Now the act is called Protect College Sports. It's supposed to be bipartisan. They're also trying to put in the eligibility thing where players can compete up to 5 seasons. Like some of it just doesn't make sense. Like the stuff's in place. Make it 4 seasons. 4 seasons in one red shirt. Right? Why let people play 5 years? Unless there's like a medical hardship. Like just giving like a cutoff and being like, you know what? Go back to the old way. Less is more. We don't want... Because the other thing they're trying to do, and this is my last thing, they're trying to limit people playing from overseas. I don't know if you saw this part come in, where I guess, was it tennis or golf? One of the Congress members had posted that like out of the 16 teams in the finals for whatever sport it was, only like a handful of them were actually American players. The colleges were really just paying for semi-pro players from overseas to come in and play tennis or something. And like, to me at that point, why even have it then? Right? Why is football paying for tennis and you're making it seem like that, oh, we can't cut this. It's an Olympic sport. It's very important. But then you're not even giving Americans the chance. At that point, just get rid of it and make it a club team. Make it a club. No one is going to the games anyway. They've tried. They've tried to hype it up. They try to promote it and like, oh, this sport's the next big thing. Everyone's going to come watch lacrosse, and it doesn't happen. And they're still in the red every year. They're not able to support themselves. And if you're not really giving local athletes a chance, especially for like college, like public schools that are state schools that are supposed to have high schoolers from that area have an opportunity to come play sports and go to a school that they might not have been able to get into otherwise. If you're not even giving them a chance, get rid of it. Get rid of it. I'm all on board for that. I don't care if Michigan only competes in basketball and football and like hockey or something. Get rid of them. Let whatever. What's like, even if you want to keep it even, what's some good women's sports that Michigan has? Softball, pretty good in that. Gymnastics, some things like, keep a handful of other ones that we're good at. And then that's it. Call it a day. The rest of them, don't care. Look at them and see, like, are we competing for championships? Oh, we're losing money too? They making money on the Big Ten network? No. Game over. Right? Pretty easy for me to cut them. I'm just an outsider, though. Is there anything else you want to add on that?
No.
So that's it. Hopefully we'll get some more information soon. I know the Canes right now are in their first game. They're tied up. I'm going to go watch the rest of this. Hopefully they can get it done. I want a championship right here in Raleigh, the only like pro sports team that's here. Wearing the NC State colors. Get it done. Choking every year since up until finally making it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time, like, 06? I don't think the Canes have made it since then. This will be it. So good luck, Canes. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.